Hello, my true crime lovelies. How are you? I hope you are well. I hope you are as lovely in life as you are in my mind. Welcome back. All right, Donna has filed a motion to suppress. What is she trying to suppress? Well. Basically, if I had to summarize it, now mind you, I'm not an attorney, these are my 2 cents. She is accusing the prosecution of entrapment. And so she wants one of the testimony of one of the jailhouse informants stricken or prohibited, but we'll get into the details because I had to look up the rap sheet of there's 2 informants now involved. One is a new one, Mickey. Oh, Mickey, you're so fun. You're so fun. You blow my mind. Hey, Mickey, who is testifying that Drina Bernhardt was acting as an agent of the state, which is prohibited behavior. But we'll get into the exact motion after I thank the members. And thank you for being here. If you like the video, please remember to give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, consider hitting that subscribe button. We'd love to see you back here again. Alrighty, let's get right into it. Here's Donna Adelson's motion to suppress, accusing them of a Henry violation. There are some redactions. It's not heavily redacted, but just FYI, there's some redactions. So she is asserting that pursuant to the 6th and 14th Amendments to the United States, they're moving the court to statements she allegedly made to Drina Bernhardt. Drina reminds me, did you ever watch it's not a Real Housewives franchise, but the Staten Island, oh God, they're like Mob Wives. That's what it is, Mob Wives. There was a Drina on there. And then, of course, Bernhardt reminds me of Sandra Bernhardt. Are they related? Probably not, but I don't know. Okay. On November 15th, Donna Adelson was indicted. So we're getting the background. On April 7th, 2025, the state disclosed the existence of 2 jailhouse informants, including Drina Bernhardt. Now, remember, originally, Drina was going to be one of Donna's witnesses, and they wanted to get her testimony straight away. And because she was, had a what does Kathy say? A narcotics enthusiast. She had a problem with that, and seemed to also be unhomed, and so they wanted to get her on the record as soon as possible. And the judge was like, "Well, you can depose her, but we're not taking her testimony in advance." So that was in the early part of 2025, like January, February-ish, and then April 7th, she's a jailhouse informant. So, although recordings of her interviews with law enforcement were provided, the undersigned was unable to depose Ms. Bernhardt until August 11th, 2025, because Bernhardt had violated her probation and pre-trial release conditions and could not be located. So I feel like that's mushed together. She could not be located. Maybe they're saying she's avoiding being located because she had violated her probation. I'm not sure. Because it seems like you could still sometimes. I mean, do you guys watch Judge Boyd? Sometimes people are just right at home and not reporting. So, and not reporting is a violation of probation. But we'll look at her rap sheet because hers goes way beyond that. Bernhardt was arrested on her warrants on August 5th, 2025, and the undersigned promptly scheduled her deposition. So we are down to the wire because as I record this, it's August 15th, right? So on August 12th, the state disclosed another witness, Mickey Easterwood, aka Mickey Lang, who was also incarcerated with Adelson and Bernhardt, and provided a recorded interview which took place on August 11th with investigator Jason Newland and special agent Patrick Sanford. During this interview, among other statements, Miss Easterwood disclosed that rather than Bernhardt merely listening to Adelson make statements about her case, Bernhardt also asked Adelson questions. Dun, 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 dun. Why does that matter? So that's where we get into, is she an agent or not? As a result of Bernhardt acting as an agent of the state, Mrs. Adelson moves to suppress any statements Adelson made after December 20th, 2024. So that's what it's going to pivot on, right? Was she acting as an agent? They're alleging that she was because she asked questions. So that's what I'm calling the entrapment part, right? So statement of relevant facts. Bernhardt testified she met Adelson in the annex. Now this is in Leon County, not Lowell Annex, but I think Donna's headed there. So your mind is where mine is. According to jail records, Adelson was initially moved into the annex in August 2024. Bernhardt was arrested for a violation of probation and a new charge on September 18th, 2024. On December 5th of last year, Bernhardt was initially interviewed by Detective Joshua Turner of the Leon County Sheriff's Office. During this interview, Turner provided Bernhardt with his contact information. Subsequent to this interview, Bernhardt wrote a letter to Turner, which he received through interoffice mail. A copy of the letter is attached and incorporated as Exhibit A. I believe that one is redacted, but we'll go through some of the exhibits. On December 18th, Turner again interviewed Bernhardt. During this interview, Bernhardt provided LCSO, Leon County Sheriff's Office, with information about a human trafficking case and Adelson's case. So Bernhardt might be shopping for a deal. She's like, I got information. What you got for me? What you got, huh? After the December 18th interview, Turner contacted investigator Jason Newland. On December 20th, Bernhardt was brought to the state attorney's office to be interviewed. During this interview, Bernhardt confirmed her current plea offer was 5 to 6 years. So it seems, and you guys let me know what you think as we go through this, that she's being offered this plea in exchange for this information. Now, is it just Adelson or is it also the human trafficking? It could be both. But I don't have confirmation of it. This is what I'm gleaning from it. You let me know what you glean from it in the comments, please. During her deposition, Bernhardt conceded she was both a violent felony offender of special concern and qualified for sentencing as a prison release reoffender. Oh, that recidivism. The statements Bernhardt made are addressed in the previously filed July 29th, 2025 motion in limine, and transcripts of those interviews have previously been provided to the court. Bernhardt told the state that Adelson called Bernhardt her jail daughter. And she also has like a jail granddaughter, because we've read some of her behavior reports, Donna's behavior reports, and there was some woman sitting on her bunk and she was like, oh, like she's my jail daughter and she's my jail granddaughter. So I don't know why Donna went to jail and started collecting family members. During the recorded interviews, law enforcement told Bernhardt not to ask Adelson questions and just to listen to whatever Adelson said about the case, right? So they're establishing the foundation, like I'm interpreting as like, don't grill her. Specifically, Newland stated, so you cannot be an agent for us. I can't send you in there to ask any questions. 12:20. Listen, if she has a casual conversation with you, there's nothing stopping you from having a conversation with her. Don't make things weird. So I underline that because when we have conversations, we ask questions, right? I mean, play this video back. How many questions have I asked you since we started? So it's not like they gave her a list, like Newland gave her a list and was like, get the answer to this, get the answer to this. But they're having a conversation. And so naturally, questions are going to be asked. I feel like when he's saying, don't ask her, I can't send you in there to ask her questions, that's very pointed. It's not like don't ask any questions during the course of your conversation. And this is going to be important as we go through this. Don't initiate any of these conversations. So I feel like as long as she wasn't asking the pointed questions and not initiating the conversations, that is not the entrapment that they're accusing her of. Newland continued stating that is one of the biggest things that is to come out of this meeting with us is don't make it awkward, but definitely do not go back there on our behalf thinking you need to get us more information. Emphasis added. Bernhardt testified she provided written documents to Turner of what Adelson instructed Bernhardt to say when testifying on 10 different occasions. She later testified this happened more than 2 times. And then down here, because there's a footnote, Turner testified in his deposition this took place once or twice. So this is the script that the state is alleging Donna had written, right, to have Bernhardt testify for her in a specific manner. And I believe that is why we have the one forensic analyst, now I'm drawing a blank on her name, but I did at least 2 videos on her, that they're going to verify it's Donna's handwriting, that this woman is going to verify. I think it's Katie. Don't get me wrong. Like I might just, there's a woman, we've talked about her in a lab. I believe she's going to testify as Butler is her last name. I think it's Kay Butler. That she's going to testify. This is Donna's handwriting. Okay. So during her August, which is pretty damning. So I think that's why this is coming in. They're desperate to not have this admitted, presumably because if Bernhardt is stricken, then that script that Donna wrote is also stricken. So during her August 11th depo, Bernhardt initially claimed she did not ask Adelson any questions, but later said that she did ask Adelson questions. The fact that Bernhardt engaged in conversations rather than just acting as a listening post with Adelson is corroborated by a subsequently identified witness. So again, they said you can have a conversation with her, the state agents, right? Newland. So anyway, on August 11th, 2025, Mickey Easterwood informed law enforcement Bernhardt questioned and manipulated Adelson. Do y'all see Adelson being manipulated just with a conversation by somebody who is in jail, a narcotics enthusiast, and otherwise non-compos mentis? During the August 11th interview, Easterwood said that it was very obvious that she was trying to get information out of Donna. My question is, how did we find Mickey? How did she come forward? So, I mean, Donna must have said, oh no, they were asking me questions and this person is a witness, right? And I'm guessing they're offering her something, but they would have to disclose it. So I'm just speculating. I don't know what the defense can offer her. Instead of acting as a listening post, Bernhardt was not merely a passive listener. Rather, she continued to engage in conversations with Adelson. Statements purportedly made by Adelson after December 20th were a product of these conversations. The state's desire to elicit additional statements from Adelson resulted in 3 additional recorded interviews with Bernhardt, the 13th and 29th of January of this year and February 11th. So, discussion of law. Before we get into the discussion of law, I want to, my 2 cents. Do you guys ever watch TCAP, To Catch a Predator? They have conversations, like the decoys have conversations back and forth, and there's a fine line, but they also ask questions. I don't know if it's the same scenario. I don't know if any of those were in Florida, but I feel like there's wiggle room here, right? And at some point, if you're not to make a conversation awkward. You are going to ask questions, because if you're just listening, the person is going to get suspicious, or they're going to turn around and ask you a bunch of questions. You know what I mean? So, and I say that as an introvert, because sometimes I enjoy just listening, and then I'll get that. And what about you? How are things going with you? And da da da. So just questions are part of conversations. I don't know what. Anyway, okay, let's get into Drina. Uh-oh, I am not even looking at the screen to see if I'm showing you guys. So VOP, violation of probation. Obtaining or attempting to obtain hydrocodone by forgery, misrepresentation, fraud, or subterfuge. Obtaining or attempting to obtain Adderall, criminal mischief, grand theft, burglary of conveyance, burglary of occupied dwelling. So she's dangerous, because that is like one of the most intimate violations. You're supposed to be able to feel safe in your own home. So obtaining or attempting to obtain a controlled substance by forgery, misrepresentation, fraud, or and again, all these are violations of probation. Fraudulent use of credit card more than 2 times within 6 months, probably because of those narcotics. Fraudulent use of credit card more than 2 times within 6 months. Obtaining or attempting to obtain hydrocodone. So it's a long rap sheet, as they say. Grand theft, $10,000 or more. Less than 20,000. So we'll say 15, 18,000. Criminal use of personal identification information, fraud, obtain controlled substance, burglary or conveyance, possession of controlled substance, defrauding a pawnbroker, possession of controlled substance, burglary of dwelling, dealing in stolen property. Grand theft is 300 or more. Is this the woman, some of you guys will know, that the Adelsons allegedly gave a painting to? Because I thought that was odd that you would give a narcotics enthusiast a painting. Maybe they pawned it. Maybe there was cash lined in the painting. That was odd. Misrepresentation. So she's, as you can see, she's a criminal. She was arrested on the 5th, her last arrest date, and she has no release date because it says 0001. And then does it switch pages? If I click on there, we get the similar page that we got for Donna. So her current charges, the offense date was 2/4/2022. So I'm guessing that was her original, whatever she was on probation for, right? Because otherwise why would it take so long? And then booking date 8/5/2025. Now we know she was in there at the end of last year, because that's when she was talking to Donna. So that was September 19th. Let me make this a little bit bigger. There we go. Of 2024. So we have all of these: petty theft, burglar of conveyance, burglar of occupied dwelling, burglar of dwelling, burglary, criminal use of personal identification. So she stole someone's identity, possession of controlled substance, criminal mischief, hold for DOC, Lowell, Maine unit. So she was in 2018. She went to Lowell, seems like. Yeah, so we're in 2020. Her rap sheet goes back to 2007, y'all. That's a long time to be a criminal, and definitely the repeat offender. So I think they're waiving that for her to testify against Donna, right? For her to get 5 to 6 years, because usually there is an extra mathematical equation, like you get more time if you're a repeat offender, at least in Judge Boyd's court. But that's, as you know, is in Texas, Bexar County. Okay, so then we go to Mickey. Melissa, she's 49. Did we say how old Drina was? Drina's 45 and 5'3". So just as long. Let's just get to her detail. She looks like a happy camper, yeah? Oh, Mickey, not so fun. She's 5'8" and 49. Booked again on July 8th of 2025. So last month, for an offense that happened. She's also a violation of probation. So real credible witnesses here, y'all. 724 violation, possession of a controlled substance, and 525 of last year. It took them a year to get her over here, but that can't be right because she was in December, right? So let's look. 724, that's the offense date, booking date. I don't see her in December. She had a 5. I guess she could have still been there from the 525, possession of paraphernalia. Or maybe from this July 24th, 2024. But if she was there, when was her other offense date? July 4th. Oh, because it's a violation of probation. So that's what it is. Okay. So when she was booked in July, sounds like she was still there. Yeah. No, because it says her release date was 8/24. So I'm not sure, but they're saying she was there in December to witness this. Maybe I'm missing something. You guys let me know. Clearly I'm missing something. And then her rap sheet goes back to 1995. So she's been real busy. Battery, domestic violence. Hey, Sarah Boone. And then battery, aggravated battery, felony battery, civil contempt, cash purge, felony battery, violation of probation, felony battery. So she had one in June of 2000 and then in August, criminal mischief. So not upstanding citizens. I think it's free to say without fair to say without sounding judgy or too judgy. Non-moving traffic violation, driving while license suspended. Second offense, possession of cannabis, prostitution. Franklin County battery, DUI, rough life. Sis is having a rough life. She was also over at Wakulla in 2014. Petty theft, first offense in she was arrested in 2018. So she had a little bit of a stretch here. I don't know if that's when maybe she was in prison. Possession of contraband at county detention facility. So you're in jail and still committing crimes. Okay. Possession of paraphernalia, possession of controlled substance. Yeah. So those are the two witnesses, which I'm scared. But Donna's in the mix. I mean, listen, she's a mover and a shaker. And remember, the first one is her jail daughter. It's a far fall from Wendy, but I mean, they're both criminals. Well, one allegedly. Anyway, don't get me started on Wendy. Okay, Supreme Court held that law enforcement cannot deliberately elicit conversation with the defendant in order to elicit incriminating information. So they're saying Bernhardt, as an agent of the state, as an agent of law enforcement, by asking questions, has deliberately elicited conversation. Sixth Amendment prohibits law enforcement officers from deliberately eliciting. And then it says, it gives an example here, the Rolling v. States. He also Maine v. Moulton's. I think this is an example from Maine v. Moulton. 1985. It doesn't give, it's U.S. Okay. Even though the defendant initiated the meeting, the defendant's right to counsel was violated, where an undercover co-defendant met with and actively obtained incriminating statements from him. That doesn't sound like the same scenario. One, this is not a co-defendant, so this is someone else, I guess, undercover, right? As a not an agent, I don't want to use that word, as an informant. And so, yeah, it's not, I feel like the co-defendant situation could be, well, they have knowledge of something and they're asking very specific questions to get it recorded or something of that sort, but they didn't run in the same circles in the free world. Passivity on the part of law enforcement is the critical factor in the analysis. A knowing exploitation by the state of an opportunity to confront the accused without counsel being present is as much a breach of the state's obligation not to circumvent the right to the assistance of counsel as is the intentional creation of such opportunity. So she had no Miranda warning that what she said could be used against her. So they go into different examples. You guys can slow this down if you want to read it. But this is especially so when the informant is not merely a passive listener, but rather is actively engaging the defendant in conversation, questioning the defendant, and then reporting back to law enforcement. So that is going to be, I think, maybe they'll do not an in-camera, but they'll do is it a proffer? Like they'll do it outside of the presence of the jury. They'll question this witness or potential witness because I think the actively engaging, one, Newland specifically told her, don't initiate the conversation and not to ask her questions, but you can engage in conversation. So I think it becomes nuanced when we say questioning the defendant and then reporting back. Because this other woman, Mickey, has depicted it as like she's actively manipulating Donna. If she used those words, obviously the defense has put them here, but that's where they're teasing at it, right? They're teasing that out of what was said. Just based on the way the other motions have been written, I have questions. I am suspicious of how this information was elicited from Mickey. Stated differently, a Sixth Amendment violation is only shown where the defendant establishes that the informant and the authorities had a pre-existing plan to obtain a confession. But Donna hasn't confessed to anything. Donna was telling Drina, hey girl, I'm going to kick you down some ends. I got some cash for that ass if you say these words on this page as I have written them under penalty of perjury in court. So I can't imagine a scenario where Drina asked the questions that would get Donna to say that, right? Like, unless she just directly said, hey, I'll be a witness for you if you give me some money. But I just feel like Kappelman and Dugan are more above board than that. In Georgia, I trust. I'm biased. Any statements with which the state can establish, so they're going into the Sixth Amendment violations, right? Although the state may have told Bernhardt to just listen, they also said to not make it awkward and that Bernhardt could continue to engage in conversations with Adelson. The plan was for Bernhardt to continue to engage in conversations with Adelson in the hope she made more statements. Bernhardt did what she believed she had to do so it would not be awkward by sending Bernhardt back into the jail with the stated purpose of obtaining additional information from Adelson. So I don't know when that was established that they sent her back into the jail, because it seems like she was okay with sending herself on multiple occasions. I don't know where the foundation for that is. The state authorized Bernhardt's actions. So I would say that's got to be proven that they sent her back into the jail with a stated purpose. Or maybe they meant just because they interviewed her when she went back on the charges that were of her own doing. It was at their behest. And they authorized those actions by telling her, hey, you can talk to her Don't make it awkward. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Her probation was reinstated. Okay, by further allowing Bernhardt to benefit from her continued conversations with Adelson, her probation was reinstated instead of the 15-year prison release reoffender sentence or the purported 5 to 6 year offer. The state incentivized Bernhardt's continued actions on the state's behalf. Most judges will decide, so it's not just the state. Because if the judge thought it was BS, they wouldn't have reinstated the probation. As a Sixth Amendment violation is shown, and I didn't look up where her cases are, like if they're all satisfied. I don't know if this is true. Like she's just getting probation and not doing any time for all of her violations. But this is what the defense is asserting. So as a Sixth Amendment violation is shown where a defendant establishes the informant and authorizes had a pre-existing plan where a defendant establishes the informant and authorizes had a pre-existing plan for the information to obtain a confession. A Sixth Amendment violation is established in this case for any statement made by Adelson after December 20th. I disagree. I don't think, one, there was no confession. It's just more consciousness of guilt. Girl, if you innocent, you don't have to give people money to lie. You don't have to write down what you want them to say. So conclusion, based on the foregoing, the state violated her Sixth Amendment rights. The court should suppress any statements Bernhardt claims Mrs. Adelson made after December 20th. So then it's getting dicey because these are all, there is an Exhibit A. Okay, it was redacted. That's what it was. It's getting like we're just splitting hairs because are we expecting the drug addict to remember what was said after the 20th of December? Like how often did she have to report back? Was that when the script came in? I have questions. Like we're just cutting it off at that day. Is there enough incriminating evidence? Because the state hasn't responded to this. This is a couple of days old. Is there enough incriminating evidence prior to the 20th that the state just is like, okay, fine. So many questions. But listen, Donna's defense is earning those dollar bills, y'all. They are definitely working up until the very last minute, down to the wire. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right. Let me know what your thoughts are. I'll talk to you in the comments. Toodles.